Good morning, guys. How are you? Did you enjoy your last breakout session? Yes? Great. Well, I am honored to sit here with 5 ladies from CHEP from different backgrounds, different industry areas. I think you're going to learn a lot from them. So, we're going to start with going down the line and just introducing yourself. Tell us how long you've been at CHEP, what you do.
All right, kicking it off. Hi, everybody. I'm Angelina Packard. I'm the Senior Manager of the Zero Waste World Team for North America. I've been with CHEP for, it'll be 8 years next month, and very excited to be here.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Anna Ginsberg. I am the manager of the strategic planning team for the U.S. Right now, and I've been with CHEP for 8 years, 6 of those in Canada.
Hello, my name is Renee Hudson. I'm the Senior Manager for Production and Seasonal Inventory. I've been with CHEP for 10 years now, so operations and planning have been the main areas. Supply chain.
Hi, I'm Nikki Zimmerman. I am an analytics translator with Brambles Digital. Basically, that just means that I help to connect the business with our digital products. And I've been with the company for 5 years this year.
Mariana Tomas, is it working? No. Okay. I am so sorry. So, my name is Mariana Tomas. I am the director of sales produce. I've been with the organization for a little bit over 6 years. And through the 6 years, I always been in commercial. And thank you for the invitation.
No, thank you all for coming. And thank you guys for sending in such good questions. There is no way I could have come up with those on my own. So we're going to start with a question that was directed directly to Anna and Renee. What made you gravitate toward the roles that you're in right now?
All right, I can kick that one off. So for those of you who don't know, my team is in charge of customer forecasting for both issues and inflows. And so we deal with some fairly technical content. And I could sit here and tell you all about my opinions on different forecasting algorithms, but I think I'm gonna start off with something a little bit more relatable to everybody. So I think for me, the thing that drew me to this role and what I enjoy about the role the most and what's really challenging about the role might actually be the same thing. So, and that is really the opportunity to learn so much more than I had before. And that's really, part of that is coming into a new market. So this is my first role for the US. And being in a different place and just having so much more to learn is incredible. But the second part of that really is the team that I work with. So I had the incredible privilege to work with some of the folks previously that I work with now. And I knew that I was going to be coming into an environment where I would be supportive in my learning, in gaining those new skills and getting into a new market. And no one is going to judge me for having never been to a Publix before. So it's been absolutely incredible, and that's been my experience there.
So I started at CHEP in logistics, and I came to the company knowing there was a lot of opportunity. So in my time in logistics, I kind of tried to figure out where I would want to go. I've never known what I want to do when I grow up. But working with the plants and in logistics, you work with 4 or 5. So I knew in my next role I wanted to expand that. So I moved into planning to really kind of get more of a zoomed out, high level view to see how all the pieces fit together. So I love the puzzle piece of it. My first role was in the production analyst on the planning side of things. And so I really got to connect with the people out in the field. So that drew me out into operations for about 4 years, learning what we do, some of the challenges that are out there in the 4 walls, also knowing how it's connected to the plant 5 miles down the road, 300 miles down the road, across the country. So it was really cool to learn some of the insights. What does it mean when you say, I can't do this because? And then now I'm back in planning, trying to, again, bring that learning back into how do we set up the plants better, knowing what it means. And again, that high level view, I really like seeing how it all comes together. That's some familiar faces, and new opportunities. So it's still learning, that's the one thing that's been consistent. I just want to keep learning and doing more. So
No, CHEP does give us a great opportunity to learn new things every day, as well as go in so many different directions. Have you faced a stigma or challenge working in a predominantly male-dominated industry? Mariana?
Not, not actually. I haven't been through any situation directly, but I feel we as a woman, when we walk in a room full of men, we feel intimidated, right? So I think it's trusting yourself, trusting your instincts. Men, guys here, don't kill me, but I do think woman has better instincts most of the time than men. And so basically, it's relying on and knowing where you are strong on, right? And just claim your seat on the table.
Oh, that's great. Anna, I know you had some insights on that.
The only thing that I would kind of add is that question really made me think about what we really started this week with, and talking about how we can make quick judgments sometimes. And there can definitely be situations where somebody walks into the room and, you know, they see the blonde hair, they see the mousy glasses, and they make assumptions about not being able to control a situation, maybe not being in charge, and it can be very subtle. I think that stigma can come in a lot of different ways, and in this day and age, hopefully no one is directly saying, hey, you're a woman, you can't do this. But it can be in different ways. For example, directing questions to your male colleagues when you're the expert on something. And that's something that we can always notice, and especially if it's happening to other women, we can redirect the conversation appropriately.
Thank you.
yeah, I'd like to add for the men in the room as well. So I distinctly remember being at a plant and a gentleman was there training me, and we had a forklift driver come over, and he looked at the man who was very impressive. He's like 6 foot tall, towering person, and he looked to the man, and whatever the question was asked, and the gentleman, he's like, I don't know, ask her. So he pushed me to the front of that conversation, and it stuck with me. I'm grateful to him for that, to say, she's in charge. So we can help each other like that, men or women. They're in charge, and give them the respect that they deserve.
Oh, that's great. Nikki, what was your worst moment as a woman in a male-saturated environment?
So one of the most challenging things I faced as a woman in supply chain, as a woman in a male-dominated field, was actually at the very beginning of my career. So I started with CHEP straight out of university, and I was a transportation analyst for my first role. And in that position, you're working a lot with our carrier partners, external partners. A lot of them were men twice my age. So that was completely new. I also barely knew what a pallet was at that point. I had been at the company just a couple months before starting to build those relationships with the carriers. So it was very difficult. It was very challenging, like not only the gender differences, but also the age gap there. But I think a lot of things that helped in that situation were really knowing my chops. I think there was a bit of a higher standard put on myself versus if I would have been a man in that situation. So I didn't experience maybe like overt sexism or anything like that, which is good and I think speaks to a lot of our carrier partners. But I did feel like I really had to know my stuff. I did have to lean on my community a lot as well, which I think speaks a lot to the culture that we have within CHEP, within the supply chain and transportation planning, logistics, how we all work together in a collaborative environment. So I did rely on a lot of people on my team, had to have some humbling moments of, I don't know what just happened in this call with these men that are twice my age. They have so much more experience than I have, so it can be hard standing up for yourself and advocating for yourself. So I think just leaning on my community was the best thing that helped me through that instance. And more recently as well, I joined the digital team back a year ago. And I have a little bit of a technical background, but most of the people that I work with are way more technical than I am. They're data scientists, data engineers, machine learning engineers. So that was a whole new ballgame from the rest of my experience in CHEP. A lot to learn in that environment. And that also was mostly a male team that I was working with. But I think something there was not getting too far ahead of myself, not assuming just because there's only men on this team. I'm coming in with different skills, a different background. I'm not as technical as they are. I think it was really important for me to not be intimidated not approach those conversations of, if I ask a question, it's going to be stupid. They're not going to be helpful. Because they were very helpful to me in the beginning, working out in that more technical career. So I think just not getting ahead of yourselves in those situations. Don't discount yourself as a woman. Because also, yeah, in those situations, if you're asking a question that's maybe something someone else didn't know on the team. So it's best to not make assumptions. Don't let yourself get intimidated. Think highly of yourself. You're in that position for a reason. So I think it's important to lean on that.
No, that's great. Thank you. Angelina, what barriers do you see in creating a more inclusive environment in the women in supply chain?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think it really echoes off of what you just said, Nikki, kind of like not giving yourself enough credit. I think we put up barriers around ourselves, and then we put barriers out in the community as well. Like if we can't already be our own advocate and prop ourselves up, how are we going to prop up the rest of our community? So I think that's probably step one, is learning to support yourself so that way you can support the other people around you. You have to fill up your own cup before you can pour into others.
No, that's important. And you're talking about having those barriers that you put around yourself. So, ladies, how do you remain objective in things? What do you do? Any of you?
I'll take that one. I'm warmed up. I'll go ahead.
Go for it.
Let's see. So, barriers. What do we do?
How do you remain objective? Renee, I've seen you,
so-
Renee.
Yes, I am an engineer by education, and all the things that just popped into your heads. Yes, that's me. I like the numbers. Like the numbers can tell you a story. So step one, look at the data. And actually, step one should be take a breath. Don't be afraid to pause. I was observing Xavier this morning, and he paused a lot. And I think one of the things I've had to overcome is thinking that you have to have the response immediately. And for me, it has to be the right response. And it doesn't. So step one, take a breath. Step two, look at the data. And step three, if you need more time than that breath, it's okay to ask for it. And step four, remaining objective. Remember your position. So you're here to be objective. Whatever this role is, you're trying to be objective. So give yourself the space. Maybe it's consulting with others. And take that time, give yourself the space to do it.
Thank you.
And rely on the people around you, right? You're saying, right? Your teams, your mentors, your board of directors. So if you are losing, if you feel you're losing the goal, just rely and, like you said, step back and you'll be able to get back to your goals.
Oh, thank you, guys. Anna, what's the difference between CHEP and other companies that you've worked for?
Sure. So I can give a little bit about my perspective. Obviously, everyone has different experience if you've worked for companies outside of CHEP. I've been very fortunate in my career where, I haven't really experienced any companies with a culture that might be described as toxic. I've certainly heard horror stories from friends, family. So I've been very fortunate. But I also reflected on that a little bit, and it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy because I gravitated towards those companies that had cultures that were known as inclusive, cultures that were known as welcoming to women. So if in your research you know that a company maybe doesn't have the greatest reputation for being open and welcoming, they lose that talent. So there's something to be said about creating that welcoming environment. Now, that being said, one thing that I think we can all agree on that has been super unique to CHEP and really wonderful to see is the authenticity of culture. And I don't need to tell you that we have a great culture here at CHEP, but I really wanted to stress that authenticity part because in some of the other workplaces, it's easy to, put on the right color shirt and say the slogans and sing the songs and rah, but at the end of the day, you really have to live it. And I really do believe that we live it here at CHEP. If something's not working right, people voice it. They don't just put on a happy face and, say the slogan, sing the jingle. they really address the issues and work through them. And I've seen it over and over again my years here. The commitment to women in supply chain, we can see here in this room. You know, I like to say that at Brambles, at CHEP, we walk the talk. So we don't just say there's a commitment to women's careers. We can see it right here in this room, the money that's being put into this amazing conference.
Oh, that's great.
Adding on to that, so my last company was not warm and fuzzy. I worked in operations for Amazon, and all the stories you read about operations Amazon is true. I worked Friday to Monday nights because I got the very short stick, and I used to cry on my way to work. And anytime we sit in these conferences and people are talking about how this is a family culture and how we're all here together, and I look around and some people are like, okay, great, family, cool. But it is true. Like, I've never felt like this room is full of sisters and brothers and aunts and whatever familial territory you want to add people into. But it does feel like a family, to where people have got your back. Like, even if you have competing priorities and you're going head to head, like this, it's a great family culture. It's true. Grass is greener on this side.
That's good. Mariana, how do you stay motivated?
From a personal standpoint, faith is, to me, my center, God. We all have different beliefs. So that's something that I always practice, praying and things like that, and meditation, different things that helps me to feel balanced, centered, because to me, if you yell squirrel, I will look there. So I'm completely, I lack in concentration. So to me, to keep motivated, it's always have a goal, a clear objective, and never stop. I'm always learning something new. I'm always trying to develop new skills. Those who knows me will knows that every 2 years I'm doing a new certification or just reinventing myself. So I keep moving basically, and look for inspirations, right? Like people that inspire me. I'm not saying famous people or anything like that. I have people in this room that inspire me, that are my mentors, and I follow their careers, and I'm looking at Cheryl right in front of here, but she's right on my face. She is one of those. So that's how I keep motivated and inspired in seeing her trajectory, and having her as a mentor, for example, helps me to keep motivated, because I believe that if she was able to get there, and other women as well, I can do that too. I believe that I can do that too. So long answer, but it's a little bit of everything, that how I keep motivated.
No, that's great. We know mentors are very important. You guys got to meet mine yesterday.
Yep.
They help frame even your personality to an extent. So that's awesome. Thank you for mentoring her. Nikki, what has been the most surprising event in your journey, and how has it changed you?
Surprising event, like one specific event is difficult maybe to think of one, but just in the first couple years of my career, I think the thing that's been most surprising is how you can't plan your whole life out. I was that person growing up. If I could have planned exactly what I was going to do for the rest of my life, I would have been perfectly happy. But that's not how things work. You can't, too many things change in this world. We all know that. Things don't always go as planned. So I guess something for me, I started out in transportation, then my second role was in finance, and finance is not an area that I thought I would ever want to go into, honestly. I didn't study it in school. I studied business analytics, so I didn't have a finance background. But I did want to move into something more strategic, and I wanted to keep developing those skills. So it was less about the job title and more about, like, what can I get out of this role? What am I going to learn? How is this going to benefit me for the future? So I think that's been a surprising takeaway, is you can't, and I think Helen Lane has also mentioned this as well, like it's difficult to say, I want this job title next, and then after that, I'm going to have this job title. it might work out a lot better for you to think about, what do I want to get out of this specific role? What skills do I have? Like going back to the personal branding too, like what marks me as an individual and how can I keep growing in that? So what roles are gonna expose me to different areas that I may not have thought about before? And I think that's another good thing about our culture here is that there are a lot of people who pivot to different careers within CHEP and within this company. So I think that's a great thing that we foster an environment where that is accepted, where you can take a risk and move to something that you're not necessarily comfortable with. I didn't know much about like budgeting and forecasting and everything, but we have an environment where you can learn that on the job. And I think that's a great thing that our leaders are willing to take risks on us in that way.
Oh, thank you. Ladies, I know all, oh, go ahead.
No, I didn't have anything to add. She was perfect. She's always perfect.
Forget this. So how are you guys doing? She has nothing to add. No, I know all of you have something to talk about here. What has been your greatest success?
I can start.
Yes.
Who knows or remember the mango pineapple at McDonald's? Yeah?
I did.
Yeah. Raise your hands. All right. Huh? The smoothies. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, maybe it's the accent. No one got it. So that I helped develop that product. So seeing it out there, it was one of my proudest moments. And every time I would go to McDonald's, I had to buy one of them. And I had to call my mom to show her, like, hey, Mom, look this. So that was one of the proudest moments in my career.
That's fantastic. I think for myself, my biggest success was becoming a people leader and going from that individual contributor role where it was like me and my brain at my job every day to then becoming part of a team in a broader sense, in a leadership sense. And now it's not just my development, it's other folks' development too. And that was a big shift for me and a lot of learning. And I think that's one of the most important parts that you can go through in your career.
When I was thinking about this question, similar to Mariana's experience, I'm like, okay, what did I do? What project am I proud of? I didn't have any smoothie examples or McDonald's name dropping opportunities. I'm like, customer storage, what? I actually had my moment this week. I'm gonna try not to cry.
It's a strength.
It's a
You're good if
strength.
you are.
I'm not emotional, I'm passionate. That's the adjective Morgan taught us. Where is she? Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. I'm passionate. I was speaking to someone who used to be on one of my teams. Hadn't really talked to her very much over the years since I've moved on. And she was telling me about her experience, and she laid something really heavy on me, and she's like, one day when I have direct reports, I want to be like you. I'm like, I did something right. I don't care what other projects I did. It's like I made an influence on someone, and that's all that I need. That's my success. So
That's awesome.
Oh, that's great. No.
I wanted to share about a project. And I still will. But I love that, and I love the passion. So mine kind of calls back Nikki's surprise answer. I think one thing that I surprised myself was how much, particularly in this company, I can say, I think we should take a left, which is a left to you, a right to me. And we went with it. And what I said carried value. So my project was, we can call it inventory accuracy. And I see some smiles because people are like, you still doing that? and yes, I am. And I will probably never stop talking about it. But it is turned out to be a very basic element of our business. And we assumed, Sam, you were on this project, we assumed that we knew what a pallet was, which ones were CHEP, which ones were not. And it was all being transacted and recorded. And it wasn't. It actually came to light a couple summers ago when we didn't have pallets. Where were the pallets going? Well, I'm here to talk to you about inventory management. And it became this really huge project, and I told my boss at the time, we need to get people together in a room. And he said, go for it. And I said, it's gonna we're gonna have lunch and we're gonna have breakfast and I don't remember what else we did. Eventually we had a notepad and he was like, of course, like get a notepad. And it was surprising to me that my voice mattered. So the fact now that we have seen progress in the data, 50% tracking year over year, write-offs of pallets coming for this year. And the fact that people this week have reached out and said, hey, do you have this, or who can I talk to about that related to inventory? I think getting the people in the room, we were able to really we created the circle of trust, and we called it that because being corny helps break down barriers. And we said there's nothing sacred here. We want to be better. We know this is a problem. How do we fix it? And you're the experts. And we didn't just bring people from the plants. We brought people from the offices, all the offices. There were 13 different teams involved. And we just said, what's causing it to not be better? And nobody, maybe there were fences, but we took it. We took the feedback. And we've seen a lot of improvement. And I really feel like the culture has changed. Like now we don't skip that step one. We have a forklift, help me out, pallet identification training required for the forklift, recommended for everyone in our plants to say this is the CHEP pallet. This is some fancy new CHEP pallet. This is not a CHEP pallet. And it's so simple, but really taking that simple step back has taught me some things, so long-winded, but I am proud to answer.
Yeah, and I think the thing I'm most proud of, I mean, kind of going back to taking risks and switching roles when you may not feel 100% qualified for that. When I first moved into digital, that was an area that I was very interested in, but it was a lot more technical than I was used to. Like I had a lot to learn in that specific role. But I'm very proud of myself for taking that leap, for trusting the individuals around me, going to them for advice to, like, again, be sure to lean on the people around you to help you make those decisions and see what's right for you. Yeah, it was difficult switching into digital as well because it's completely different ways of working, like working in agile and sprints, and working in a global team as well, having to deal with the different time zones. And the environment over there, I would say, is very much like similar to a startup, like a very like self-starter culture. There's no one assigning you work. You have to figure out what you need to do to move your product forward. So it was just a completely switch up from what I was used to in my prior roles. But I was able to contribute to we have a product that's very mature in Europe, but we were looking to move it to the US to have an MVP for asset recovery in the US, so a minimum viable product. So that was something that I was able to contribute to in my first couple months in the role, which I was very proud of because, again, it was very switch up, very similar skills to what I had used in the past, but I was very proud to be able to contribute to something in those first couple months because that can be a little bit intimidating.
Oh, that's great. And thank you all. You've developed people, processes, and a tasty treat. And it's
Right. But of course, just to add in a deep, more way, one of my proudest moments was coming from Brazil, Mexico, and arriving here in the US, getting the job at CHEP and being able to grow here. I am proud, grateful, and I want to retire here just because I know how hard it was for me coming from Brazil and having no education with having name or any experience in big companies. I had to reinvent myself to be able to find a job. And CHEP was the organization who gave me that chance. And I started from inside sales representative, and I was able to grow quick and fast with the support of my mentors, my peers. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity I had at CHEP, and I will do everything I can for this business.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
You guys have some great accomplishments, and the dedication is amazing from each of you. Guys, I want to ask you, what do you feel is one of the most important qualities that women should possess in supply chain and as a leader?
I can start with that. So one of the most important qualities that I found I've had to really embrace is courage. And we might call it managerial courage in different contexts. We might see it as different things, but to me, it's really putting yourself out there. And if you don't know, asking the question, that's courage. Putting your hand up and volunteering your help with a project that you've never worked on before, that's courage. Stepping up when you see something that you don't think is right, when someone's not treating someone else right, that's courage. And I think that is one of the most important things that we can do as women leaders.
Oh, that's great.
I think also confidence. So confidence that you are where you are meant to be. If you have a thought that you want to say, even if it's been said before, say it. You have a different way of saying it. It'll connect. So confidence in who you are, and that will lead to authenticity. So I think being authentic is going to help us achieve the culture that we've been talking about. Really hearing people, embracing diversity, and making it better for that. Because we're all great people. CHEP's a company of great people. And have confidence in yourself that you are where you are, and embrace it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know this was something we were talking about a little bit earlier too, but I think empathy is a really important skill for leaders, and especially as women. We've talked about it this week too, like we can be there's the perception that women are more emotional. We can call that passionate. So really good way to spin that and to change those terms. But I think we can often think of empathy as as something you have or you don't. You're either an empathetic person or you're not. But empathy is actually a skill. It is something that you can develop. So I think it's really interesting to take that women are more emotional and then spin that as we may have more emotional intelligence, like capturing that as a superpower is very, very important and can be a very crucial skill. Like empathy can help you with your customers to anticipate how they're gonna feel, putting yourself in their shoes, how they're gonna react to something. Your internal stakeholders and internal partners to the company as well. Being empathetic, being able to see how they're gonna perceive a new project or how they're gonna react to a presentation. It can help you learn how to tailor your presentations, your negotiations to a specific audience. So I think that's something that we can kind of take the emotional aspect of it, but spin that to our own benefit.
Empathy was my word as well. You never know what someone is going through. Like they could be having the hardest day at home ever, and they come to work and you're asking for all of these things, and emotionally they're way down here, and they've got a mask on and they're trying to do their best. So being able to relate to them and just knowing how they are as a person, because we're people first, right? We're not just work. I know we spend a lot of time here and thinking about it, but we're more than that. So empathy was definitely my word as well when thinking about this question.
Yeah, to me, it's all of the above, right? I think you need to have a little bit of everything. So the word that comes to my mind is emotional intelligence. I think as you grow more and mature, and again, you can also train on it and develop skills to improve it, but is to have that sensibility of trying to put yourself in the shoes of the other people, is watching more than anything. As a leader, what I am learning is that we need to listen more than talk. But empathy is something that I always hold really close to me and try to be aware. So awareness as well. It's something that not only about yourself to scan how you're doing on that day, because our emotions can also change how we are gonna treat people that comes on your day. But emotion intelligence, I think it's something that it's extremely necessary for everyone on the business or in your personal life.
Oh, thank you. As we're growing up, we're taught to be nice, to get along with others, don't start fights. But we know, as much as we all love each other here at CHEP, sometimes conflict arises. So how do you manage conflict?
I think it's not being afraid of having the uncomfortable conversations, right? Mm-hmm. It's about being not honest how you feel, what's going on, and go and talk to that person direct. That's my best advice. if you start holding things and assuming, it's only going to aggravate and it's going to create more noise, and you won't be able to do your job well. You will impact the results. So just have that courage to have that uncomfortable conversation.
I've been given feedback as well to use conflict. So my natural inclination is to avoid it. And we're working on that. You know, you use your data, but how do you, again, reframe it and say, let's use this. Maybe it's a competition to get people to use the app. That works, you know. Maybe it's, you know, think back to debate team, and then you just have to think a different way, and you want to win, so you're going to be really creative, and what are the ideas you can get out of it? So I don't think that shying away from conflict is the right answer, even if it's your natural inclination, but it can be very beneficial as well.
You, in your question, really hit on something that struck a nerve, and also to your point, that there are certain behaviors that we're sometimes rewarded for when we're young, and we're taught in our girlhood, that we then have to almost unlearn and become a little bit different and grow and reinvent yourself. So one of those is, you know, you always have to be nice and quiet, and, you know, you're going to be rewarded if you do well in school and you get along with everyone. But that's just not the reality that we often come into when we're in the working world. You have to make sure that you're working towards your goals in a manner that aligns with the whole organization. We're not always going to have the same goals as everyone else, and you have to work through that conflict. So I think realizing that and working through that was definitely important for me throughout my career.
Thank you. What feedback have you received the most from supervisors for areas of improvement, and how have you addressed it?
To me, when I started as director of the team, it was a new position for me. So the feedback that I got first was, you need to stop thinking only in your own role and think broadly. So learn how to think more strategically, right? So think about the whole business. What is positive? What is going to impact positively, even if it's going not to be so good to my department on that year, on that moment. But think broadly and strategically.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've received some feedback, especially more early on in my career, to speak up more often. I think a lot of times, especially when we're in large meetings with a lot of people, with no one has their camera on, you can kind of fade into the background and not serve in a role that's promoting yourself. Again, back to the personal branding. So I think it's really important to be an advocate for yourself. Also, don't know your place in a meeting. You can't just speak up on any meeting that exists. But just being able to have that confidence and be confident in your skills and where you're at in your career, to be able to share your ideas when you have them.
So I love sticky notes, and one of the pieces of advice I got a couple years ago is still on a sticky note next to my calendar, and it said, it was when we started our continuous improvement journey, and the feedback was, don't stop asking why, keep asking. So there's 5 levels of why, but if you have a toddler, you know that why can be asked endlessly, and so get from that, be curious, but keep asking why, because there's something you can find and you can make it better. So keep at that, and let them know, keep pushing, and they will let you know if you've gone too far. So another natural inclination is like, okay, that's my box, I'm here, I said my piece, or you said it for me. But no, I'm here, this is my space, I'm supposed to answer that question. So what you said is correct, yes, I'm the authority, and now we've got a stamp. So owning that space, and just keep pushing the limits. It was great advice.
No, thank you. Did you have something, Anna? Okay. I'm sorry, I thought you moved. Okay, you moved. No, that's good. I have sticky notes everywhere.
Love
I,
that.
I could
Different
like own
colors,
post.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I will say she's pushing me right now with customer storage.
We have a wonderful relationship. And she's told me, we're good. We're
Yeah.
going to be better for it.
Conflict, healthy conflict.
Healthy conflict.
See, feedback. It's a gift. So this is one thing that comes up on almost every single panel, and it's one thing that I am absolutely terrible at. You can ask Alyssa and Chad and everybody else in the world. What do you do to have that work-life balance?
I like asking that question, so I will answer it for you as well. I think the best answer that I have heard is you can think of yourself as juggling, right? We all have our tasks that we juggle down to, make your list so that they all get done. Each of those things is a ball that you're keeping in the air, but some of them are ping pong balls. You drop it, it'll bounce right back up, no harm, no foul. Some of them are glass balls. So my children are glass balls, and if that falls, glass breaks, and we don't want that to happen. So that's really putting it into perspective and giving yourself grace. So you have to know what's important to you. What are your glass balls that you will not let drop? And just a note on family. I think it was an Easter egg hunt at daycare this year. And I heard Tyler's voice in my head saying, I think it was from this conference last year, if I ever hear of one of you missing your child's events because of a meeting or work or whatnot, then I'm going to be really upset. Because I was looking at my calendar and my to-do list, and I'm like, but I went, and I watched the 4-year-olds picking up Easter eggs on the ground. It was adorable. And everything was fine. So know your glass balls, put your attention where it should be, and sorry, lost it. Trust your team as well. So some of the balls can drop, you'll pick them right back up. You can toss a ball to somebody else. That's a skill that you really have to learn, but it's going to be a different answer for everyone, and I think one of the things I love about CHEP is that message from the top. We heard Xavier say it today too. Family's important. And my team around me now has shown me that too recently. So I love CHEP for that reason. They protect my glass balls as well.
I love that answer, adding on to it. And so it's good we know what our priorities are and that those priorities change over time. There was a phrase used yesterday, seasons of life. Like those glass balls might change. And being transparent with your team and your leadership of where you are right now and what you can handle is so important, because they might be running under the assumption that your priority list from last year is the same. It could be very different now. So being transparent about where you're at is very important.
And acknowledging that you're going to go through those ebbs and flows. There's going to be times where you do have a little bit more capacity, so you can lean in more into your career and more into your work life. And there's going to be times where your home life is very crazy and chaotic, so you have to take a step back. But I think it's healthy to acknowledge that you will go through those ebbs and flows, and it's normal. Everybody goes through it. But yeah, I think one thing concrete that's helped me a lot with work-life balance when I've gone through times where work has been a little bit more overwhelming is creating a morning routine. So that could be anything. It doesn't have to be like exercise or movement. It could be having your coffee and doing a crossword, just something that you're looking forward to in the morning. That has really helped me when I've maybe like kept up at night stressing about work and you have all those thoughts running around in your head. When you have that little routine that you're going to look forward to in the morning, you go to bed thinking about, oh, I can't wait to make my coffee. I can't wait to go to my workout class. Can't wait to go on a walk. Like it could be anything. I think that's really helped me in times where work has been overwhelming and is taking up more of my headspace. It's good to focus more on the life piece of the work-life balance and what makes you happy there.
Yeah, I agree with all of you, and what Angelina said, who knows me, I'm extremely direct and honest. I don't fluff in any situation, but always respectful and properly. And I would say family to me, it's the most important thing, and I make sure I respect my team's time with family, important dates as well. So And even when they are on PTO, on and off, I see them on PTO and working. And I just ask them back, what you're doing? It's your PTO time, so go and rest, because I want them on their best when they are working. And we all know CHAP can be very challenging every day, so it is necessary to take the time off to do what you love. If it's traveling, being with family. In my case, is traveling, being with family, my dogs. So basically, I'm a homebody. I love staying home with my wife and my 3 dogs and my 2 cats. So that's how. And we're gonna get one more dog. Dogs, not cats. Too complicated.
Do you want a dog?
No, we're not gonna start with that again.
If anyone wants a dog or a cat, just let me know after this. We got lots. Okay, no, that's great. Thank you. Angelina, there was a question that came specifically for you. It was, how do you manage the goals of sustainability with practical realities and financial considerations of running a business like CHEP?
Oh gosh, that's a great and heavy question.
Yes, it is.
With great care and with a lot of people. It's definitely not just me. So a little bit more about our sustainability team. It's a global team. It's very large. We're very lucky to have such a great focus on sustainability that we have the resources to put towards it so that we can have good, measurable, real goals that we know that we can achieve, and it's not just fluff in the sky. So that is part one, knowing what we can do and being realistic, pushing the boundaries of what's out there and what's possible now with what technology is available, but balancing those business needs, because it is a very real thing. Sustainability right now, it is expensive. A lot of the times, the changes we want to make, investing in new infrastructure, it is expensive. So balancing what can we do, what should we do, what's the return, what technology might be coming out tomorrow that could be less expensive and more cost effective. Maybe that's something we need to wait and do later. So taking the baby steps where we know it's a good decision for us in the short term and long term to start making those carbon improvements is important, but it's a huge balance, and we're reevaluating said balance all the time.
Oh, thank you. Anna, they asked specifically, can you provide examples of how strategic planning has helped the company adapt to changes in the market or overcome challenges in supply chain?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So our team is kind of the very beginning of the planning process. So we are working on forecasts for all of our customers across the board. One of the most challenging times that we've had right when I first started with the team was going through allocation. And that's where it was really important for us as a company to have a strategy, a going forward way of making sure that we can make it through the chaos. And our team was really instrumental in making sure that we are providing that realistic forecast. And I'm sure that everyone in planning across the industries knows that the pandemic pretty much threw all your historical data out the window. And what do you use for your forecast? It was an incredibly interesting time to be in the sphere that we're in. And echoing what you said about not doing it alone, the team has really rallied together to make sure that we have the data that we need, and we're not just relying on the information that may or not be anomalous. We're using whatever information we can get out of the market to make sure that we're going forward in the right direction, and we're helping our partners across the organization to make it through.
Thank you.
You love forecasting for produce, right?
Yes, it's so predictable.
Mariana, there was a question for you. Can you share some successful strategies or initiatives that help drive sales growth and customer satisfaction within CHEP?
Ooh, okay. Thank you for the question. So actually, it's a really good question. When we were back in fiscal year 23, we knew it was flipping, right, in terms of volume going out of COVID. So that would put us in a position that we need volume, pricing war going on right now. It's extremely crazy. So we had that vision, and focusing in customer storage for the produce sector as the main, the most valuable thing to protect and grow the customers. So back in the day, I believe customer storage started maybe in 2017, basically giving pallets to customers 3 months prior the season to start, the peak of the season. The value of it is, one, we have 20, 30, 50,000, and in some cases, 150,000 pallets in customers' facility. So we put those pallets prior their season. So we are now, I cannot say the word I would like to say, it's intrinsic, maybe that's the word, like that. Yeah. So we are inside their facility. It's not easy for customers to change platforms, right? So it's more expensive for them to say, by CHAP, I'm going to go with Whitewood or any other platform. So going from fiscal year 23, we were just doing it on the watermelon sector, commodity, if you will. So we decided that we would start exploding customer storage. That was our best advantage. So we start putting these pallets in the customers. We pay some amount per pallets per month for the customer. So now we are also helping them to offset the cost of the operation. Anyone in commercial knows that it's a huge argument, discussion, negotiation. So basically, we grew the customer storage from 23 to 24 year to date, I would say 78% in volume. We went from 1 million-ish to, we're going to hit almost 3 million, if not the 3 millions, or even pass a little bit from what I'm seeing. And basically, this strategy is what is securing the produce sector not to be shrinking in volume, but grow in volume. So that was, to me, the best strategy. It's just growing. We are getting customers involved more and more, accepting and wanting to join the customer storage. And on the Brambles CHEP side, we are reducing costs because it's less expensive for us to pay the customers to keep these pallets than to pay third parties. We are removing the transportation, also reducing costs in transportation when we are putting these pallets prior, not during the peak of the season when the fees increase. We're helping the thought because also the pallets are already there. We are not showing up late. So it's win-win. So we are winning, keeping these customers, making them happy, and making sure that they are beginning to trust more and more on us. So now we can get in different areas. They are giving us the privilege to talk about different things like digital solutions and sustainability and different things like that.
Thank you for that. I know we only have about 10 more minutes, so I wanted to see if there's any questions from the audience. Wait, what? 0 minutes. You know what? You get no questions. It does not matter. Thank you. Thank you, ladies.
We were so engaged in that dialogue that we went a little over. Sorry about that. But those are our own internal folks. Give them a round of applause. And if you added them to your network, you can ask all of your questions directly to them, right? Because you have them on. There you go. All right. So a few housekeeping items before we wrap up today. And of course, the thing that you've all been waiting for is to see who has won our networking game. Katie? Oh, do I click? I wasn't allowed to bring my phone up here because it interferes with the microphone. First place is? Oh, third place, sorry. Third place is, they want to know who.
Kimberly Brown.
Woo! Kimberly? Kimberly? Woo! Congratulations. All right. Second place?
Leslie.
Leslie! There you are, Leslie. All right. And the big prize to?
You guys have one guess.
One guess.
Correct.
Come on, Vanna. Remember, apparently you have a position in sales if you ever want it. All right. All right. So very quickly, we had some amazing presenters. And for those of you who spent time in Todd and Amelia's room outside the Xbox gaming, what key theme did you all pick up? Branding, resiliency, Jeannie? Perspective, reinventing yourself, empowering yourself, find purpose and meaning. Does that make you guys feel good, Todd and Amelia? All right. How about Cheryl's The Art of Networking? I know you all did a little speed dating in that room. What were your key takeaways?
Stop looking at the differences and start looking at how we're alike and how we're similar and how we can relate.
Awesome. Woo! Perfect. All right. All right. The Kim and Teresa hour. What key theme did you all pick up on personal branding? Advocate for yourself. Personal board of directors. That's what you were going to say. Have your elevator pitch ready. Awesome. Good. That's what you guys wanted, right? Yay. All right. Another win. All right. Career development, reflection to action. What did you all pick up from Liz? Got to take action. Meditate. Yes. We got to meditate. Reflect on your experiences. Have a plan. Write it down. You own your own career. That's probably the biggest one. All right. How was that, Liz? I saw ya. Perfect. Y'all get a pass. And this one, I know that it was filled with a lot of wonderful, funny movie clips. But aside from that, what key themes did you get from Morgan's facing women on women sabotage? We've all experienced it. Beyond. Stop it. Okay. I like that, Beth Ann. Anything else? Break the bias. Create a welcoming culture. Use the differences to learn about yourself and to grow. Yeah. Bring others along with you. Show solidarity. Promote each other. Wow, Morgan, good job. All right. So we're going to do some thanks. And then after I say a few thanks, Tyler's going to come up here and say some parting words for you. And then he's going to close you off with a wonderful highlight video of all the fun that you all had over the last couple days. And then after that, we're pretty much done. So you can all get your suitcases from that wonderful room that's currently packed. Please take your own suitcase, not the cute one that belongs to your neighbor. And there are receptacles when you leave this room to put your lanyards in. Remember, I told you we were going to recycle? So keep your name tag as a souvenir, but your lanyard itself we're going to use again next year. All right? So a big thank you to the external panelists that we had. I think they've all gone on their merry way, but they did enjoy a lot of the activities yesterday, and that was Jill, Sandra, and Jody. Thank you again for Mariana, Nikki, Angelina, Renee, and Anna for the sharing that you just finished doing. We really appreciate it. And all the folks that are currently in the orange shirts, all of our volunteers, thank you all. We could not do this without you guys. And for me personally, thank you to the planning committee this year. Please. The planning committee started 9 months ago getting all of this ready for you. I think it went off without a hitch, and I hope that you all got as much out of it as we got preparing for this. And an extra big thank you to our logistical mastermind. We could not do this without Helena, and I really, really, really appreciate you and the balance that you brought as soon as we landed here on Sunday, everything started to change. And you weathered us through it beautifully, and I love you for it. Thank you. All right? So with that, I'm going to leave you with a quote before I hand you off to Tyler. And this is a quote from Christopher Robin, for those of you who had Winnie the Pooh growing up. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. All right? Tyler.
Every time I follow Agnes, I have like a little tear. This is crazy. So there was a woman at the General Electric Company in 2001 that convinced me to join the GE Women's Network. I was a newly minted director, and she said, it's not for women only, and we need men to be a part of it. And it's one of the reasons that I was kind of the starter of the women's ERG here, which I kicked it off as best I could, and then I turned it over to more capable hands. But it's so interesting. But I gave her this exact thing on a little thing in a gift when I left the General Electric Company. It's just weird. The weird's so small. Some of you may wonder about my shoes. I'm generally pretty formal, military officer kind of guy. But I was wondering, could anybody identify with me? Raise your hand if you can. You bought a new pair of cool or cute shoes, and you brought them for an evening, a day or two, and you wore them. And the longer you wore them, the worse your feet hurt. Has that ever happened to anyone? Be brave. Oh boy, do I have that going on. I might even sit in the customer chair. Oh, that's better. So, couple things. One, thanks for all the heartfelt messages in our contest to come that all of you put in to be selected. I'm very pleased that you did, and I want you to encourage others around you who maybe they didn't get picked this year, but there were a lot of other people who wanted to come. So let's go back and let them know it was great. Let's not make them feel jealous, and let's encourage them to come. Because I think next year is going to be similar, probably 50%, a lot of you coming back, Not any of the ones that left early, but a lot of you coming back. Oh, I have a thing to say over a few things around here every now and then. But a lot of you will be coming back, and others, so encourage them. But thanks for the heartfelt comments that we got. And then I'm going to ask a favor. Last year, after the event, we got some people who shared their own perspectives of what they gained either from a job perspective or confidence perspective or resetting where their horizon is in the future. And we really loved reading those. Some of those were really, really from the heart. And so I'm just asking you to just go ahead and do it. Send in what, it could be short, it could be long, it could be whatever you feel like. Because it did help us shape a little bit of things where I think we did even maybe a little better this year than we did last year. And so if nothing else as a favor to me, I would appreciate if people could give us that valuable feedback, because we'd love to hear it. The one thing is next is I want everybody to be sure and get home safe. It is, Xavier said it so well, it is the most important thing we do is getting everybody home safe. You know, seatbelts on in the Ubers. Just get home safe, because we need everybody here. We need everybody here on this team all the time. Keep yourself safe. And then I'm going to go back where I'm started. I had two messages that were really important to me, and I'm going to see how well I communicated. I'm sure you can think about the shower, or you can think about the guy burning all the money. You remember those things. But what I want to know is I'd like everybody to look for in everyone. Look for. Let's get a little together. Look for. Brilliant. Glad you thought of it. And then when you're assessing others or assessing yourself, you should do it with what? Grace and an extreme care. So you're going to do this assessing, this evaluation of yourself and others with grace and extreme care. Oh. I feel like Bruce Springsteen. Hey, seriously, thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming. Thanks for entrusting me to be the leader. I take it very, very seriously, and sometimes I do understand that all of you fill out those surveys on employee engagement and all those things, and so in some ways you all entrust me and select me to continue to do this job because your opinions matter, and we're going to continue to do outstanding, but even better next quarter than the quarter after that. Thanks for all you do.